So you have a change of heart, wanna make a brand new start. You've been living on the edge with forever as a pledge. No more giving it up, turning me loose, setting us free. Baby, keeping it real, cause we got what takes for sure. There's no turning back anymore. Can you see it's all a game? Life goes on all the same. If at first you don't succeed, all you've got is all you need. If you believe this.
Hey, Rise and Thrivers. Welcome to Monday night. It is May 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are so excited to have you here today as we continue on this month of May on this amazing topic that we have come up with. So before we even start anything around what we've been talking about and what's going to happen for the rest of the evening, let's just remind you of who we are. So welcome if you're new, but we are Rise and Thrive Together. We are a community committed to educate, equip, and empower you to have the life that you want, to get the results that you want in your life through real talk and taking real actions. So follow us on Facebook at Rise and Thrive Together. Follow us in our private community of Rise and Thrive Together community, where you get some sneak peek background stuff, and we have lots of fun games and challenges and also special events. And we are also on YouTube and Instagram. So with that being said, I'm super stoked. Hey sis, how are you today? How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm good. I actually like our intro song. I do. I get caught up in it and I actually like it. I really do.
Awesome.
But I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are good. It's another show. Another week has flying by. We're already 5.5 months into this year. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Right? I mean, we are just flying with this amazing time that we have. And we get to do what we love, right? This is what we say.
Absolutely.
We get to do what we love. And I think there's one thing that we haven't shared with the audience, sis, and I want to remind you. You know, we've made a big deal of our 100 episodes, right? And we had all of those special guests. So for those of didn't know about it, we are consistently up to episode 107 this evening. And also to let you guys know that it's our 2-year anniversary.
Yay, 2 years.
2 years committed consistently, week after week, coming on together. Sometimes we are not always to make it, but we are committed to have these conversations with you and have a great time with you. And of course, bring special guests to really take our conversations to the next level. So this whole month is on Pearls of Wisdom, conversations around money and the way we communicate around money. Are you psyched about this one, sis?
I definitely want to hear how couples communicate around money. As a single person, yeah, it's interesting to hear the different types because I've got friends who are married, cohabitating, and they have different views on, not because of their situation, their living situation, but they just have different views on how they talk about money or don't talk about money. So I'm really interested in hearing what our guests have to share tonight. So sis, tell us about them and let's bring them on. I'm excited to get this
Yes.
conversation started.
Yes, let's get this conversation started. So, welcome. I'm going to show you guys this beautiful, beautiful promo that Raquel is gifted at. This is Marija and Jason Parente. I'm blessed to say that they have been dear friends in my life. I think since 2007 or 8. So they've been more than just friends of ours, of my husband and I. They have been both mentors and coaches in our lives as well. Let's start with Jason Parente. He is a business and money coach because money matters. He says money tells a story about someone's life in a very precise way. We all have our own money story, and unless we carefully examine it, we are really not free to create our lives. He's personally experienced coming home in fear of bills in his mailbox, the amount of money that's in his checking account at the end of the month. And my face in the mirror in the morning is of complete fear. Fear of not providing for his family. That means to have the kind of life that he really wants them to have. He says he knows what it's like to live with that fear, to lie so it looks and feels better. He's been there, and he also knows what it's like to get out of it. So his true passion in life is to support people to shift that financial situation and go beyond survival so that they can create a life devoid of financial stress. And he is married to the extraordinary Marija Parente, a transformational coach and the creator of Total Access, discovering the power of reconnecting to your essence. She says she helps people clear the blocks that blocks their freedom and natural expression so that they can design a life aligned with their true vision. As a transformational coach and a family constellation facilitator and the creator of Total Access Method, she guides individuals through deep inner work to dissolve those unconscious patterns, reconnect to our essence, and live from a place of truth. She has an ongoing practice called Clean Slate to create, to support staying in that flow by continuing clearing that no longer fits. So to her, life is both a work of art and a practice in the art of living. She uses creative expression to access her own truth and guides others to do the same. She coaches, and my coaching invites people to listen beyond what they think they want to what wants to happen, and often reveals their highest calling and untapped potential. So super excited to bring on our guest right now. Welcome, Marija and Jason Parente.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You know, this is so fun because I get to read your bio.
I know.
And I'm curious because, we write our bios, but is there anything that stood out for either one of you? How was that for you?
It's really interesting because I got really, I forget, the moment you're talking about, just this not being able to pay my bills. It's something that nowadays I forget because I've gone beyond that, right? And in you reading it, I could remember the moments, the room, the apartment I was in, and it got me really, I just remember that moment, how crappy it felt, honestly. And I noticed the gap, from there to today, and I was just present to that gratefulness.
Yeah.
Bio.
Bio.
Which is bio. What about you, Marija? Anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, the word unconscious really stood out for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a coach for a long time, and for the longest time, I would say to people, I can help you with any problem, right? But what I got out of my bio right now is I really serve people who have this experience, there's more out there than what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more impacting me right now in this moment than just my mindset and just I'm not doing it right or I'm wrong about something. I really get into that depth of unconscious, and therefore the family constellation and the ego work and all that kind of stuff that is in the background of how you get back into the flow. And not I'm for everybody, but I am for those people who know there's more.
That was awesome. That was so well said. But I want to dive right in. I want to get to the conversation. I mean, it's great. I want to get to the conversation that you have and how you communicate around finances. Where did that start? And how do you start that conversation? So let me clarify. You've got a couple now starting out, whether they're married or just cohabitating. And folks, there is a difference, right? Marriage is a commitment. When you cohabitate, it's a matter of convenience. So, and you can write in whatever you want. It is fact. How did you guys start the conversation on money? Because we heard in the bio you were concerned about bills. How did that conversation start?
You want me to share?
Go for it.
I'll start because it was very present for me. I had And for real talk, right? Like I had about $40,000 of debt. As an international student, I couldn't get the loans like all Americans could do. So I just put that on my credit card so I can get my college done and graduate school and continue to stay in the country. So I woke up with a master's degree and no money in my banking account and continual bills. And I consolidated my debt. I worked through it. I consolidated. That's when I started doing transformational work and coaching work. And I really got, okay, I have to separate how I feel about it, that I'm somehow bad and wrong about that, separating the meanings from that I have this $40,000 of debt and I needed a vehicle to help me out of it. So I consolidated my debt with the help of my mom, the lawyer that was helping me work through it. Of course, it was dramatic for me, but I moved through it. From that point on, I became somebody who was very diligent about money, very determined to never be in debt again. I no longer use credit cards. I was a cash only girl and like that. And then fast forward, I'm ready to get married, and I meet Jason and Regina knows the whole background story, but I am just like, this is a man for me. I was clear. It was very romanticized, at the time, but he was the man for me. And I was very clear about that. And I fell in love before I ever asked him about how's money and how are you around money? How are you around kids? How are you around anything? We were in transformational work. So I knew that he was for people. I knew that he was for people having the lives that they wanted. And that kind of connected us. But all the backstory of like how much money you have, do you have money? Are you in debt? None of that ever happened. So I was already engaged when I realized that Jason called it, he was in red. And I'm like, you want to elaborate what that means in reality? And what that meant was that, yes, he had a mortgage. So that was kind of in a positive, right? Positive debt, if you want to look at it that way. And he'll help you with the financial terms around that. But to me, that was just like, you owe that much money. I just got out of debt. And I was free from that. And now I was, as a couple, ready to get married in debt again. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those like hell to the no. So it was right away talked about.
Yeah.
And my lack of tolerance of debt, which I got out of my own failure in life, if you will, to be in debt and then come out of it, had me say, oh, we're not brushing this under the rug. We're going to deal with this right on. So before we even got married, we already had a plan of getting out of debt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just let him speak. So I'm not dominating as often.
It's, the example, not the example, but what Maria's sharing is exactly what happened. And it's exactly what a lot of people kind of start doing and then stop because emotions come into it. And, or people get scared or get frustrated or angry. And then whatever way they deal with those emotions comes right into the conversation and they'll leave because when they get upset, they leave. Now, it's got nothing to do with money. They will do that thing if it's about which restaurant are we picking or where are we going on vacation or whether or not they should, change jobs or whatever it might be, right? And, what works for Maria and I is we don't leave. We stay in it. Mm. Now, and the conversation might not get all resolved in half an hour on a Tuesday evening, It might take a couple of days. It might take a week. It might take 2 weeks to really get it all complete.
Yeah.
But we stay in there and go through it, the looking at the reality of the situation and then creating the plan, like Maria was saying.
Yeah. So basically, just not to go into the long story, but I'll give you kind of what happened next. So we right away had that conversation. I right away said, listen, I got this clear for myself. I'm not going to be in debt again. Like I'm just clear about that. So you're in or you're out. We're either playing this game together because I'm not going to tolerate that. So we right away, we started, even our marriage was an expression of that because unlike most people who, not going to say most people, but in my experience of people that I talk to, often people very blindly go into the wedding in a sense that they're like, these are the people that I love. I got to pay up for it. Hope that they give me some money in return. I don't know what goes through their head, but I looked at Jason and I said, This is how much money we have in our banking accounts. Who we invite has to fit inside of that. I'm not going to invite anyone I cannot pay for right now. I'm not going to wait until they give me a gift of money and they can cover the cost of the wedding. So if you kind of zoom out and look at how we are with money, in so many ways, I'm the restrictor and we're kind of inside of it. And Jason is the spender, investor, and like that. So what we got very early is that we have a very different way of looking at money, but rather than have that continually be a conflict between us, we stretched ourselves to fit in or to create a new space inside of which both of us can breathe. So I'm not an automatic no, or although I am an automatic no when he wants to spend something, but I say no first to just breathe and be safe in my skin. And then I go, okay, let me think. And then he needs to bring me arguments for that. And so that I can, so I'm willing to listen, but I'm also first coming with, let's be safe and let me say no. Cause I think for women, again, I'm not going to assume, but for me and for a lot of women that I've coached or known over the years, we can be so wobbly with what we really want. We don't really say it. We're like, we make things work, and it's a really great quality, but can also come back to bite us when we're in a situation where something really doesn't work and we're still trying to make it work and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work physically. So we both stretched over the years, but these are the way our breakdowns show up is I want to restrict and not take any chances. And that can keep me also very safe and caged. And he is like, whoa, I see that possibility. I'm like, oh, hold your horses, because not with our budget, right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant work. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But knowing that that's kind of what's in the background allows us to give each other space to speak and get to see what's behind that, because it's never any conversation about money, and that was in Jason's bio, is really not about money. It's about some other fears, some other things like, am I worth it? It's my massage worth it? Versus if it's some developmental program, then I spend $10,000. But if it's a massage or chiropractor, then okay, 150 is my top. Makes sense, right? It's like where the value is. So it's a living organism, I feel, our relationship and our communication. But those are kind of the beginnings of it.
I like how you said you stay with the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take a half hour, 45 minutes. Sometimes it's days over. And my question is, in the span of the days that it takes to have the conversation, continue it, and probably put a conclusion to it, because you make a decision, are you still talking to each other? I mean, outside of that conversation, like, are you just having a regular conversation, or is there silent treatment? And then we say at 3:00, we're going to meet and we're going to talk about this money thing. Like, what's in between?
So, money flares up a lot of emotions for many people. And sometimes you just got to let those emotions calm or you can actually have progress. That doesn't mean the emotions are bad. In reality, whether you think they're good or bad, they're there. So we just deal with what's there. If I say I want to buy something and Maria's like, no, like she just mentioned, right? Like, I could turn around and go, whatever, I'm going to go do it anyway. But I'm still got to deal with what's there. And my commitment is more about our relationship and our success, mutual success, her success personally, mine personally, and our mutual success, than it is about that number or that purchase or that, that problem. So in understanding that, over time, we've also we know how we work, right? She knows I'll come with the crazy expenses, right? And by the way, by crazy could be something very, ridiculous, like a $7 thing, right? It's not, but she'll be like, no, like, we don't need that. And she's right. That's her strength. So I honor her by listening to her. And even she's upset at me for even thinking about it or mentioning it or bringing it up, I will honor her because I know that's her strength. her figuring it out without spending money is her strength.
Yeah.
It's so interesting since you talk about you're the money coach and she's transformational.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. I'm like, wait a second, did I
It
miss
really is.
that?
Yeah.
I think it's great though.
Yeah, but I want to just say something, and I want to say this to everybody listening. I think it's very important. It's not easy for me to say no. Like that, it takes a lot of courage, because what's in the background for me is something that I picked up from my family. And that is like, okay, you're cheap.
Ooh.
Right?
Right.
I'm cheap.
You're economical.
Yeah, I mean, you can reframe it, right? But the labeling, the internal labeling, and the experience that I have of that like I do something at the expense of, this is again unconscious, right? Like the work that I do, the unconscious is like I'm cheap, but to hide that, I could dishonor myself. And one thing I'm really grateful for Jason, and that's, it's due to a lot of the training and the tools that we have, is that that's not what he hears. Like he hears that something doesn't work for me, and he's willing to give me that space so that even that cheap can disappear, because I say it in honor of our relationship, all the while terrified that I'm both sounding cheap, that I'm limiting him, all these things that women are accused of. You're emasculating your man. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Regina is in a relationship. Maybe like I can turn to her, right? Like there's all these things that women are constantly being told. So it really takes guts sometimes to say, you know what? It could be $7. And the moment he said $7, even right now, I'm like, dude, like, couldn't you find like a better example of that? Like, where you want to pay up $1,000, not like $7 thing. And how I say no to that, like, make me look better,
But
So
there's it. That's it. You just said it. It's that background conversation. That's what I love about, in both of your bios. That's the best of, it's both transformational work. You just use different languages. It is the way viewers know that Raquel and I have been talking about this for 2 years now. Guys, just to let you guys know, you're on our 2-year episode.
Yay! Yeah, that's awesome.
So 2 things that came up for me was why I said that, as a plug / it's about commitment. What I hear, Raquel and I, a commitment to be on weekly, right? It is not about us individually. It's about our individual beliefs, our committed beliefs together, and what we want to make a difference out there. That's what I hear in your relationship, which, listen, ton of people watching, what they said over and over again. This is not a easy, quick fix. It is a constant commitment, daily, moment by moment. And I love what you said, Jason. It really moved me. Because now you made an impact for me for the rest of my night, right? Which is past myself and what I'm committed to, of course, myself, but me being right or having that thing, whatever, is that really the most important if that impacts my person next to me? So I'm willing to then say, take a breath and breathe, because what really is going on for him or her over there, right? You're trained in that way. And that's, again, a muscle you're building constantly. I know them for a very long time. What I love about them and each other, and just like Raquel and I, is that we don't hide and pretend it in front of each other. Like when we're all together and they live next door, we're real. Like if they're fighting, they're fighting. And if we're fighting, we're fighting. And that's just that, because we know behind that, it's not, uncomfortable. It might be for most people, but really there's something behind there, this fear, this unconscious, whatever's happening. And sometimes you step away, you do whatever, but you're committed to come back to that and really hear and understand that other person and find out what that is. So, I love it. I really appreciate this. It's not an easy, and I love, Raquel, that you asked to have them on or find a couple that's on, because it's very different as a single person.
Right.
Yeah.
And your own conversations.
But let me just interject with that single person. You still need to have that conversation with yourself.
Yes.
So let's not discount because the single person is just one. You still need to really and truly have that conversation with yourself. So you need to be honest with you, though you don't have a significant other.
Exactly.
So I need to
100%.
interject that for single people. Go single people.
No, 100%. I think I don't know which one is harder. That's what I wanted to say next, because sometimes it gets complicated with two people. And then sometimes when we're stuck in our own head, right? That, you build that great muscle, Raquel, right? And we talk about this often. She speaks out loud to herself, like she's coaching herself, right? Because you built those tools and those strategies and those tips. And that's something you're committed to yourself all the time. Many of our listeners who are on here are starting to realize that's something support that they need.
Yeah. And I'll say something actually to segue into what Jason can speak to. Money is something that even as an individual, right? And I think it's actually even harder because I have Jason. If we go out to dinner with Regina and Josh, and we've actually gone through this, I think, in our past when we were years ago, right? When we first started hanging out and when we would go out with other people. Like Jason, I can tell Jason and be like, like our budget is $50. Yep. We're not spending more than that. You want to have a steak? No, have crab cake. I can have that conversation with him because we're intimate partners. Mm-hmm. Then when we go out with Regina and Josh or their friends, now I have a partner that can defend me saying, no, thank you. I'm not going to have a martini or I'm not going to have something. So in some ways, I think it's easier on a level of relationship because you have a partner. If you enroll that partner in that game, if you invited them in and inspire them and they're backing you up. But overall, I think how people generally are with money, and I know how I've been with money, is reactive to what's happening at us. So, there's always an opportunity to spend money all the time. And especially right now, there are ads everywhere. And what's the question that you ask to determine whether or not you should spend money on something? Where does it come from? I'm worth it. That's not coming from workability or integrity of your finances, of what you're bringing in and what's coming out. Like one of the in Clean Slate, which Jason comes and actually does a chapter on money for my clients because he adds so many dimensions to it. But one of the plainest way to look at money is there's money coming in and then money coming out. Everything else is a story. If more is coming out than is coming in, there's some break there. And eventually you can get away with it for some time, but eventually it's going to break. So one thing that I love about what Jason does and how he thinks about money is he doesn't just see the problem. I can spot the problem right away. He creates with people what works around money so that the answers about whether to spend or not spend are not coming from reaction, from something came your way and you go like, oh my God, I have to,
I need it. Yeah.
I mean, listen, we're taught that the sales has to be like, you got to create the scarcity around it. You got to create that. It's like by this day you sign up and then you get a price less than this and whatnot. Like it's all in a culture. So we're all fighting against so much coming at us at all times. So it really helps to not just notice that. I noticed that, but he goes a step further with his money work, which is to look at, okay, this is what's coming in. This is what you're committed to. How do we now fill that gap? And how do you have day-to-day workability such that your decisions are coming from your commitment rather than a reaction to the circumstances around? Does that make sense?
Nope.
Oh,
We lost Raquel.
We lost Raquel, but yes, it does. She'll come back. Somehow or another, the screen came up. Yeah, oh my God, that hit me so much. I'm a reactive, right? Real talk. Maria knows me, reactive. The minute you said, because I'm worth it, I just did that yesterday.
I deserve it.
I did it yesterday. And it's as simple as a simple thing of, I literally had water in the car. I was out. I was thirsty. I went and I bought the $7. Ridiculous. It's funny, $7. It's around $7.
I was like, what's up with the $7?
It's our number for the day.
Yeah, your black screen, just to let you know, but we hear you. And yeah, and that's what I did. I didn't even stop. Like you said, it's a reaction. It's some unconscious, Maria, unconscious thing. I was 25 yards away from my car. like the water's in the car.
I know.
But I got I got the cold drink. I got the thing. I was all like, and then now, mind you, also caught it, done. It's not like there wasn't money in the cap, but it's the point because you can see how sneaky that gets. And you've heard my stories before. It catches up. So when there's that moment in time, like now, I want to go visit, right? I want to go, right? There's something that really matters the commitment of. And then it's like all those $7 added up where it's like, oh, I don't have the money this month to go to the flight because you're having an event and who you are for me. And there's that shame and guilt that's hidden in the background rather than just being responsible for and having someone like Jason be like, okay, right? So that was big. So I could still see it's still sneaky there. It's still sneaky there.
It's so insidious. It's insidious and takes like chipping and chipping and chipping. But that's where, again, like I think the antidote for me became to actually step into that courage and speak up and say, can we, rather than going out, can I cook and, bring in the salad? I mean, how many times did we do that? And I'm talking about when money was way more scarce than it is right now, because we've all grown financially and made more money and have more money to spare. But in those early days, it was not we didn't sacrifice the connection with ourselves or with our friends, but we did find different solutions. Like, can we cook at home? Can we do this and that? And still have the lifestyle, but not have that recklessness that is behind overspending, something like spending more than when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the time that we have left, what's one thing that you would like to leave our audience with, or give a pearl of wisdom, since that's it for this month? What would you like to leave them with around the conversation of money?
One pearl.
One pearl.
Just one. If you want to give one each, I'll allow you one each. Quick pearl.
One each.
What's your pearl, Jason? You go first.
I go first. Speak the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth to whom?
To yourself and to
Everybody,
who you're communicating about.
Okay.
And that means like the real numbers, not the numbers you think are the numbers.
Oh, been there.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, yeah. That's the truth, right? Speak the truth. Know the truth and speak your truth.
Yeah. And mine, I'll give the context around it. If you think about your life as a building, and if you think about your actions building foundation, you would do what works. You wouldn't say, oh, forget about putting that brick there, or, or not putting sand in, or whatever, however the foundation of the house needs to be built in order to have a tall building. Just do what works. Do what works. Do what works over how you feel like, what you feel like, or what you think other people will think about it. Just be courageous to do what works.
That's great.
Wow.
Simplest way I can say it.
Yeah.
I like them both. Be courageous. Work is what you have. Don't round up 10% or something. Just go. If you only have 7 cents, we're on the 7. If you have $7 in your purse, please don't look at something that costs 10, because then you'll owe 3 when you do your credit card. And is it worth it?
Or tell the truth that that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Wow, this was really great. Thank you both so much for taking time out of your busy schedules, because I know you have them, to come and sit and chat with Reg and I. It's an important conversation, and sadly enough, it's a conversation that most people shy away from. And it's so important, because marriages break up because of finances, lack of communication. People think infidelity is first, but it's finances.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference in a relationship. And it's a conversation, though it's difficult to have, it needs honesty, and it breathes on honesty. If you're honest, if you're dishonest, of course, we see the results of that. But have that money conversation. It is so necessary. You don't want to wait until, and I'm talking to folks who might be single or engaged or what have you. You don't want to wait until you're married and then say, hey, let's talk about money. You need to know beforehand what that person's money habits are, because
Yeah.
it is a habit.
Yeah, it is a habit. And I'll just add really quick before we go. I think it's very important to look at money as something you have and look at it as numbers, number coming in, number coming out. It's not who you are.
Right.
And I think that can give access to people listening. Well, if you're making just $20,000 a year, you might not think that you can marry a millionaire because you identify with the money that you're making, with how much you're earning. So life is beyond money, and money is something that in a material world, in a way, we have an agreement to function in a society right now. It's an exchange system. So you can't deny the money is what it is, but it doesn't mean anything about you. So separating the two, I think it's really, really important. In my work, I talk in identification, and Jason's is just like, this is how money is coming in and coming out, or when you spend money on, which shows your values. It tells a whole story about your life, which is, what was in his. So
awesome. I love that. Money doesn't mean anything about you. I love that.
Right.
That's such a great way to wrap this show up. Jason, you have one more thing you wanted to say? I heard you.
No, I'm just, thanks for having us here. I always, love talking about these things and talking about what Maria does and what I do and helping people the way we do.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you? Someone just tell us real quick how people can get in touch with you.
Very simple. Email, websites, jasonparente.com. It's Jason's, mine is mariaparente.com. It's spelled with that little J. So that's the best way. You can.
Absolutely.
We have socials. I'm more on social media than Jason is. Jason likes to work alone. but if you get in touch with me, I can get you in touch with him. That can also work. We're out there. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
Easy.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Reg, you want to say something?
I just want to say
wrap up.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, it's just an honor, a privilege, and to not just have you guys as friends, but to know that they truly have made a huge difference in mine and Josh's life. They've been our coaches, they've been our mentors, and then we're blessed to have friends. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in a few weeks. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's so awesome. And
Yeah.
audience, we want to thank you for listening in and tuning in and supporting us over the past 2 years and many more to come. So thank you. And as we always like to say, remember, you can't do it alone, but together you can rise and thrive. Till next time.
Beautiful.